So I was blown away with all that I've gone through with this journey of this life that I am so blessed to have. Who started the stupid rumor that I was stepping down on Friday? Out of your mind?
That was New York City Mayor Eric Adams responding to reports that he would be dropping out of the upcoming mayoral race. His comments come as at least 8 candidates have announced challenges against him in June's Democratic primary. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman of New York. He's a member of the House Oversight and Homeland Security Committees. He also served as lead counsel in Donald Trump's first impeachment. He is joined by New York State Senator and New York City mayoral candidate Zelnor Myrie. Good to have you both on board. Why don't we start with your announcement this morning?
Yes, we're here. I'm very proud to endorse Zelnor to be the next Democratic nominee for mayor in New York City. We obviously are facing in this city a number of different crises where that are just not getting the proper attention that they're due. Zelnor is a true visionary. He's someone who is really poised to lead the next generation of Democrats, both in New York City as well as the country. And he balances the sort of vision, the courage of his convictions, but also the very smart, pragmatic policies that our city really needs.
So since you're both lawyers, and we'll talk about what's going on with the country and some of the legal challenges ahead, and maybe hear from both of you on it. But first, I'd love to hear from the candidate himself. How are you going to break through? There's 8 people jumping in and Mayor Adams not backing down.
I'm born and raised in the city, would not be who I am if not for New York City. I take the subways every day. I live here. I'm a product of the public schools here. Both of my parents moved to this country close to 50 years ago. Both worked in factories. They came here for opportunity. It's the same reason that most people come here and most people stay here. But that ability to stay in the city, for it to be affordable, for it to be livable, and most importantly, for it to be safe, is slipping away for too many of us. And so I plan on talking to as many voters as possible, sharing not just my legislative experience, but my lived experience as a New Yorker. I think people want 2 things. It's simple. They want to be able to afford to stay here, and they want the city to be safe. And that's what I plan to do, and that's the kind of mayor that I hope to be.
Right.
Zelnor, you and I have talked, and you've been up to see us. And let me ask you a question and the congressman a question. Do you think because of the legal issues that the mayors and Mayor Adams, who you know I've known 35 years, that if he gets a pardon, because there's rumors he's trying to get a pardon, I don't know if that could be true, or if he's even had the case put out, which some would say is political, does that help him or hurt him, and does that help your candidacy?
So I'll answer it first and then pass it to the congressman. I don't think that's any person's view of justice. One where you can play to a pardon and then get that. I think people expect the mayor of this city to lead in this moment and to do so in an uncompromised way. My focus is on talking to as many people as possible about a vision for the future of the city. And right now we are rudderless. Right now we do not have that leadership. And that is why I think that this indictment has been so distraction and hurtful for the city.
Mike.
Zelnor, now it appears, finally, there is a credible police commissioner in the department. What are you going to do with the rest of the department? New York City seems to need more police officers. That's one question. The second question, in terms of how people live and how they want to live, what are you going to do about the mess that is the city's public schools?
So I'll start with the second part. You know, I'm a product of public schools. I went to PS 161 in Crown Heights, went to Brooklyn Tech for high school, then went on to Fordham University.
That was for smart kids.
Come on now, come on. Went to Fordham for undergrad and grad school, and then Cornell for law school. I would not have been able to go to law school and work at one of the best law firms in the world if not for my public school education. But I want to propose something that doesn't just deal with the school day. I think we need after school for all. I'm a product of an after school program. It was a place where my mom, like most New Yorkers, didn't get off at 2:30 p.m. She could have some peace of mind that I was in a safe place and that I could grow, and that any pedagogical loss that we've seen over the past couple of years due to COVID, we might be able to make that up with some after school programming. On public safety and our police officers, look at what we've had over the past 3 years. 4 police commissioners, allegations of corruption, $1 billion in overtime. So yes, we need more police officers to help with overtime. We also need to promote them so that we can have more detectives to solve crime. I come from and represent a community where gun violence is all too prevalent. And we have some of the lowest clearance rates for our shootings in the entire country. I want to change that, and I want to lead from the top.
What do you think of the congestion pricing? Donald Trump says he wants to get rid of it. So what do you think of that, too?
I'm a commuter through and through.
I mean, it does work. But the question is, what are the consequences of it? So what are your opinions on this?
So I voted for and supported congestion pricing in the state legislature. I'm someone who uses our buses and our trains every single day. There is much needed revenue that is coming from congestion pricing, but it's also reducing traffic. It's having the intended effect, and that was some of the purpose here. I think not just in congestion pricing, but in everything coming from this president, you need a mayor that's willing to stand up to Donald Trump, someone that is not going to bend the knee, someone that is going to use every tool at our disposal to stand up for vulnerable New Yorkers and to stand up for what makes this city great.
All right. So, Congressman, I want to get you to weigh in on what's going on right now with all the different judges making orders to pause these executive orders that, whether it's shutting down USAID or the long list right now of judicial pushback. There has been some word from the administration through tweets, I will say, from the vice president, as well as two Republican senators, saying that, you know, the courts don't really have the final say, alluding to it. What is your take on where this potentially could be going?
Well, it's very scary for someone who is a graduate of the best law school in our country to send that tweet out, effectively denying the rule of law that guides and governs this country, separation of powers that is inherent in our Constitution. And to say, how dare a judge put any guardrails or restrictions around the executive branch? That is a check and balance from co-equal branches of government. That is the foundation of our government. And the judiciary has to stand up to make sure that the laws are followed. If Donald Trump is not going to faithfully execute the laws as the Constitution requires him to do, that's why you have a judiciary. And where we will really reach a constitutional crisis is if, as he seems to be setting up, the administration just disregards and defies court orders. Our country, our system, 250 years, has never dealt with that situation since Marbury versus Madison in 1803. And if that is where we are going, that is a constitutional crisis, the likes of which we have never seen before.
Yeah, that's the sort of ultimate where the rubber meets the road. Like, what happens if we go there? I'm sort of scared to jump ahead of the story here, but since it's been alluded to, what are the guardrails? Well,
the guardrails are going to have to be from within the Republican Party. I hear a lot of, we're Democrats in Washington. I hear, what are you doing? What are you going to do?
Right.
Well, the reality is, you know, we have some measures that we can take. We have some strategies. There are some things we can do. But the Republicans are in the majority in the Senate and the House. They control what legislation is on the floor. They control subpoena power. They control oversight and investigations. Ultimately, if our democracy is going to stand up for and beyond Donald Trump, it is going to have to come from within the Republican Party. And people are going to have to say that Donald Trump is a billionaire who is entirely narcissistic and selfish, only cares about himself. Elon Musk is the world's richest man who clearly only cares about himself. That is not what our democracy was founded upon. And we're going to need some Republicans, frankly, who are willing to lose, who are willing to be a Liz Cheney and say, I will lose my seat to do the right thing by this country, not the right thing by Donald Trump. I haven't seen it yet. Let's hope.
Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman of New York and the candidate he's endorsing for mayor